Fresno's comes back and wins. Santa Maria will put up a three. Bang! Santa Maria!
Here's Warner. Here comes a headed jam. Counted for two. Field. Adios! And the Falcons win on a walk-off. And it's saved. What a game. Cortez smacked to the left.
That is gone!
Block for Perez. That's my play. Off the backboard. Counted and a win.
And a win! Bryan Ramos wins the game for the Santa Rosa Warriors.
What's up, everybody? Back for another show, Talkin Football on a cold, wet Wednesday afternoon. Kevin Arrow alongside our special guest, Bryan Ramos of the Monitor /Star /Herald these days.
Yeah, it's easier just to say RGV Sports nowadays. But Kevin, I'm happy to be here with you here in Brownsville for another day talking shop, talking football, man. It's an exciting times here in the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah, how you been, man? I know. I just rolled in from Fort Worth at 3 a.m. this morning. The Bloodhounds had a 2-day showcase, but it was a 3-day trip. Last I saw you, we were staying warm up at, what was it, Cabanis Friday? How you been?
Yeah, been good. Nothing like those road trips to Corpus for some playoff football, and it's always fun getting out there. You know, us being the Valley and them in Corpus, we're always meeting in the playoffs, so it's always a good place to be. And then I was able to catch UTRGV basketball Monday at Bird Ogden Arena, then Texas basketball, who's now ranked number 4 in the nation on Monday there at Bird Ogden Arena. So, yeah, a pretty exciting week, and then we get to finish the week off with some high school football, which I'm sure not just me and you are thrilled about, but the Rio Grande Valley, there's a real buzz going on this week.
Sandwiched in between some turkey. You know, we got Thanksgiving tomorrow, right? So that's going to be a lot of fun. Did you? So I remember you said you wanted to head over to that Texas game. Did you get to cover it, or you went as a fan?
Oh, I was able to cover it.
Okay.
Ivan is our UTRGV men's basketball beat writer. I cover the women's team, and Ivan was out of town, and he asked me to cover it, and I was like, "You want me to go cover Texas basketball? Sure, why not?"
Yeah.
So I mean, how many opportunities are you going to get to see? You know, I mean, a top 5 ranked team in the nation come down to the Rio Grande Valley and play in front of the fans, and it was a really cool, exciting environment. There were 6,674 fans, which you know Jonah Goldberg.
Yes.
He's the one that gave me that number, and that's also the most attended basketball game in the Rio Grande Valley of all time, beating out the Celtics and Rockets preseason game back in 2009. So yeah, just exciting times here in the Valley.
Oh yeah, I actually remember that Rockets game. I think Yao Ming was still with the Rockets, but that was down at the what was it, the Dodge Arena at the time.
Yeah, it was Payne Arena at the time. I went through 3 names before I finally settled on Payne, but yeah, that's what it was at the time. So yeah, it's I mean, really cool, man. UTRGV basketball men's basketball picked up a win Monday. They also were there at Bird Ogden Arena last night and picked up another win. So UTRGV men's basketball on the up and up right now.
And then we're more news is starting to come out about the football program. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so exciting times here for just UTRGV as a whole. I know they plan to hire a coach here in the next couple of months. I would say by the end of winter for sure. So maybe by February, and it could happen as early as late December or January. But once they make that coaching move, he'll hire a couple coordinators, and then from then it's building from the ground up. You know what I mean? Hiring that head coach to lead this UTRGV football program that will plans to sign their first recruiting class in 2024, conduct a practice season in 2024 also. In preparation for 2025 is when they'll officially begin competing at the FCS level as a Division I school in football. So they'll have home games played at HEB Park in Edinburgh, which is where the RGV FC Toros play. And then they'll also be playing some games here where our main event is going down Friday, Sam's Memorial Stadium in Brownsville.
Yep.
So, UTRGV football making the trip to has said they're going to come over to Brownsville at least once a season to play a home game here in Brownsville. So, yeah, exciting times valley-wide for Edinburgh and Brownsville and the Valley's Division I university.
Awesome. That's Bryan Ramos joining us today. He's our special guest. So, in case you're wondering, Joe is out of town. He's up in Missouri. And then we have Rudy and Ruben. They're down at the Bird Ogden Arena. They're covering a doubleheader. We have some basketball going on today, and this time of year there's always a doubleheader at Bird Ogden the day before Thanksgiving. So the guys are down there covering that basketball game, and then I said, hey, there's no way we can not have a show this week. Such a huge week for football in the RGV. So with that being said, going to run down the scores on what exactly went down in the area round. We had Harlingen beating San Antonio Warren 39-21, PSJ North 35, Corpus Christi Miller 14, Corpus Christi Veterans beating Edinburgh Vela 14-7, San Antonio Veterans 35, Sherryland 23, Gerald 35, Port Isabel 21, Mackay 21, San Antonio Southside 0, Liberty Hill 63, Mercedes nothing. And those are the area scores from this past week. You and I again got to see the Raiders at the forefront against Corpus Christi Miller, but outside of that, we're going to talk a whole lot about the Raiders and Veterans a little bit later in the show. But what stood out to you in the area round?
Yeah, so a really exciting area round. We had 5 teams move on here to the regional semifinal round, and we just had some interesting games. I mean, Corpus Christi Veterans and Edinburgh Vela. I mean, 2 of the most winning programs there in recent years. I know they're both relatively new, but man, I mean, they both turned into powerhouses on the gridiron. And Corpus Christi Veterans pulls out a hard-fought win over Edinburgh Vela, 14-7, and that's just the luck of the draw, man. I mean, Edinburgh Vela had to play Corpus Christi Veterans, and to get out of the region, I mean, somebody was going to have to play Corpus Christi Veterans and beat them. And Edinburgh Vela was unable to get that done, although, I mean, that one sounded like, or I was able to watch some of it and check out some numbers and stuff, but that was like a defensive slugfest. I mean, 2 of the best defenses in all of South Texas, I think, going at it there in that one. So just a good game there. And then, of course, this run that Mackay has been on, I don't think many people would have imagined Mackay being here. They got off to a 1-3 start, and now not too many teams are getting second-round shutouts in the playoffs because if you're in the area around, you're there for a reason, and they come up with a big 21-0 win over San Antonio Southside, and kind of what's labeled as an upset. I know Southside had only lost 1 game heading into that one, so yeah, big result for Mackay, and then of course Harlingen and San Benito showing that they're the class of the 6A level here in the Rio Grande Valley, and punching their tickets to round 3. And anytime Harlingen and San Benito are good and fighting a couple rounds deep, 3 rounds deep in the playoffs, it's always just better for Texas high school football as a whole. And when you talk about teams representing the Rio Grande Valley football, San Benito and Harlingen are 2 of the teams that you love to have up there because, I mean, those programs from the top to bottom are just the model programs. And
that's because I was very critical of 6A this year, and you can absolutely chime in on this. I still feel that 5A is just maybe a little bit more ahead of 6A this year because coming into the year, after week 1, we had Veterans, we had Pace, that whole district. Everyone lost. All the projected Slicko East, every team that was Harlingen South, all the teams that were picked to make the playoffs lost in week 1, and it's like, well, man, that doesn't look right. And then week 2 happens. You see PSJ North start to flex some muscles. You see Vela start to say, hey, we're picking up right where we left off, despite losing the quarterback and multiple guys at a lot of positions, really. And as the season went on, and by about week 5, I said, I think 5A football is ahead of the game here in 6A. But now we're looking, like you said, San Benito and Harlingen, there they are again, back in the 3rd round, right where they belong and right where they feel they need to be. So I think maybe it's kind of become more even-keeled that we're seeing the 2 6As back in round 3 to match up with the 3 5A teams we still have left in 5A. Do you feel that same way? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about it, I mean, just last year, PSJ North was where exactly where San Benito was playing Austin Westlake in the 3rd round of the playoffs. They moved down to the Class 5A level, and then Mackay, I know those McAllen schools are a few years into their run at the 5A level, but they're just a few years removed from being there in Class 6A. But I mean, this season in the Rio Grande Valley, I think there was a clear-cut top 4 teams, and it was PSG North, Harlingen, San Benito, and Edinburgh Vela. Any way you want to rank them, whatever. That's it's subjective and everything. But I think those teams were the class of the Rio Grande Valley, and It just so happened to be two of them in 6A and two of them in 5A. Edinburgh Vela, fortunately, ran into a really good team in Corpus Christi Veterans in round 2. But we got Brownsville Veterans and Mac High advancing here to round 3 to join PSJ North at the Class 5A level. So, yeah, I think, man, those teams they're just fun to watch and really solid years. And of course, we know this PSJ North team exactly what they have and how they're made up. A bunch of juniors, starters on this roster. So there's I know it felt like they were barely getting started, and it's kind of still feels that way, man. They still got this year and one more year to go. So yeah, that PSG North team is looking really promising right now.
You know, for me, what stood out for me, not only, you know, the Mac High deal, because I know we talked a little bit about it in the press box Friday night, and I know you were like, hey, if they do what they're supposed to do, they'll come out with a win. And I was like, I don't know. But, I mean, I've been on this show plenty of times saying that I didn't even think Mac High was going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I didn't have them in there because going into the year, you know, obviously you had PSG North Villa, and then one could argue McAllen Memorial and Rowe.
Absolutely.
Or maybe even you take out a Rowe and slide in a Palmview, and then we still haven't even brought up Mac High.
Yeah.
What do you feel has been their turnaround? I mean, a lot of people going into the playoffs, I had coaches say like, "Hey, watch out for the Bulldogs. They can pull off that upset on the road because they're playing well at the right time."
So this Mac High team, they got off to a 1-3 start. They have a sophomore quarterback who did not start this season as their starter, but by the end of game 1, he was in there. Game 2, he was their starting quarterback. Joaquin Valdez is his name. And, I mean, anytime you got a first-year starter in there, quarterback, you know, there's going to be room for growth. And there definitely was. They went through some growing pains, got off to a 1-3 start. Then they started district play against PSG North, or they picked up a big loss against PSG North in district, and 55-0 was that score. And then all of a sudden, towards the end of the season, this Mac High team, they just go on a run. And one thing that I always just saw about this team, and it goes back to last year, they have athletes and they have weapons. And anytime you have weapons, if you can put them in the right position to go ahead and make some plays, then they're going to go ahead and do so. And I thought McAllen High would be able to match up with Harlingen South in round 1. They win that one 24-15. It was a really good game. I was at that one, and just McAllen High's defense has been playing really well. I'm telling you, man, that Mac High has athletes. You know what I mean? Just in general, the basketball team has been really good in recent years, and the football team made the playoffs last year, and they build on it this year. And then, to close the season, they needed to beat McAllen Rowe and McAllen Memorial to make the playoffs, just to get in. So they've been in playoff mode for a month now, and they hadn't beaten Rowe in 7 years, hadn't beaten McAllen Memorial in 12 years, hadn't won a city championship since 2007, I believe. And then they take care of business, beat Rowe, beat Memorial, punched their tickets to the playoffs as it was a tiebreaker scenario. They ended up as a number 3 seed. They draw Harlingen South, who was a tri-district champion out there. And when I saw that matchup, I thought Mac High was going to be able to match up with them and play their game. They did that. And then the San Antonio Southside team, last week, Mac High wins 21-0. And Southside did suffer a crucial injury in the bi-district round. Their quarterback suffered a broken leg in the first round. And knowing that, it was, well, okay, if this team is going to be playing Mac High without their quarterback who has a broken leg, then you hope they have a backup. Well, it turned out they didn't have a backup. Their backup was a linebacker who hadn't practiced much as quarterback, and so that kind of showed and was on display there in round 2 as Mac High picks up a 21-0 win. So, I mean, it's just Mac High magic, man. They're on a run. They're playing their best ball. I was out there at practice yesterday. They're loving it. Coach Shelby picks up his first 2 playoff wins of his career.
Yep.
And, they're motivated. They're feeling good, and they're confident as winners of 4 straight, winning those rivalry games. They took down Harlingen South, who was a tri-district champion. San Antonio Southside was outright district champion. And now here they move on to round 3, and they'll get another district champion in Corpus Christi Veterans.
That's a pretty good run, I would say. And I had tweeted that their ruby slipper fits quite well.
Yeah.
They're definitely the surprise team and the feel-good story. And A lot like McAllen Memorial last year when they went 3 deep. Not a lot of people picked them to go 3 deep with Patty stepping in and being the interim head coach at the time. So that's 2 straight years that McAllen has produced 2 third-round teams.
Yeah.
For me, what stood out was San Benito. I sat here last week and I said, bold prediction, we're going to be talking about Vela, PSJ North, Port Isabel, and gosh darn, Harlingen. I picked 4 teams. Brownsville Veterans. I had 4 teams. I didn't pick Harlingen to win. I heard about that. I didn't pick San Benito to win last week. But with my concern with San Benito was that going against Taft's defense, and being that Michael Mole, there were so many Valley ties in that football game with Mike Mole, the DC there, Donnie Flores, who's a Mercedes guy, Steve Marroquin, the OC for San Benito, he's a Mercedes guy. So they have that Mercedes tie. Donnie was also from Mercedes. He was on the LaFeria staff as a DC. And, of course, the Moldozer was a graduate of San Benito. He was on the staff as a DC before he left to Taft. So all those storylines were awesome. And what I had learned was that the last time Mole and Gomez, those guys were all on the field at the same time, was in 2017. Was when they had that super team when they played O'Connor back there at Buck. So everything just kind of came full circle, and that was the last time San Benito played at Buck. That was the last time San Benito went to the third round, was in 17. So it's been some time since they've been to that third round. But Fabian Garcia just stole the show, and I tweeted this out when the weekend, when everything kind of wrapped up, was that, and we can touch up on this after I make my point about Fabian, but this is one of the more memorable area rounds we've had. So many things, positive things, great things, crazy things that we'll probably never see again, right? But Fabian went off for 313 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 32 carries. So my concern with San Benito was that if they couldn't get their run game going against that defense, they would then have to force to pass, and something we really haven't seen them do much.
Yeah.
And that's something that Harlingen kind of exposed and said, hey, we're going to kind of take away your running game, and we're going to force you to go through the air. And I wasn't sure if that passing game was going to be able to do that. Defensively, I knew San Benito was going to keep them in the football game.
Yeah.
And shout out to Mariano Garcia, that kid. Did you see that highlight play that I shared?
No, I missed it.
Oh, no, I did show it to you in the press box.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so where Andrews is running down like 70 yards down the sideline. He makes everyone miss, makes them look silly. The kid's got great moves. TJ Andrews, the running back from Taft. He's running right down the sideline. He gets to the 10, the 5, and then you just see Mariano Garcia just dead sprint like Don Beebe chasing Leon Lett in the Super Bowl, and whoopah, he just knocks that ball loose. It's a touchback, all effort. I was just like, that is play of the year right there in my eye. I have not seen a crazier play all year. And it was tied 14-14 late in the second quarter. I felt that San Benito had just scored on a long touchdown from Fabian. Andrews was about to answer right back. And that kid, just a dead sprint, the length of the field, knocked that ball loose. And from there, I felt that the momentum shifted. I mean, I was like, bro, like.
That's a game-changing play right there. And you just got to give credit to the kid, man. I mean, he wanted it, and he went out and got it, man. I mean, he could have easily quit on the play, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And let them score a touchdown and say, hey, we'll get a stop the next time.
Right.
So, no, I'm getting a stop now.
Yeah.
And as they're crossing the goal line, he punches it out. So just a really big play for San Benito, man. And just to speak on San Benito and Taft a little bit, I know last year Edinburgh Vela was able to beat San Antonio Taft in the second round.
Right.
They had a lot of success on the ground against Taft. And then this last week, I picked against San Benito. I picked San Antonio Taft. And as soon as I submitted my picks, I was like, dang, can I get that San Benito one back? And let me pick San Benito instead of Taft because I saw what Vela did to Taft last year.
Right.
And this year, maybe I didn't give San Benito enough credit. But then they come out here and show you why. Hey, man, they're one of the best programs in all of South Texas here, and they pick up a big win over Taft last week.
Yeah, no, it was a great win for San Benito. So the second half, they just fed off of that play. They fed off of Fabian. That defense forced 4 turnovers. in the second half, and that that defense just woke up. They played tenacious. They were hard, they were physical, and that's something that Johnny Garza loves. And this is the guy. He's a product of San Benito. And he had those shoes to fill of Coach Moll that left that there, and with the job he did in 17. Most notably with that exclamation point with that team. But yeah, that's what stood out for me was San Benito. I didn't pick them to win that football game, but they just went out there. They ran the football effectively. And they also played some pretty lights out defense with that Superman play from Mariano Garcia.
Huge.
We're gonna step aside. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna break down a little bit more. We're gonna jump into the 6As, talk a little bit more about Harlingen and their matchup with Warren, and we'll talk a little bit more about San Benito and their matchup with Westlake, and just how hard it is for 6A teams to be in the third round. When we come back from Luke Faria Motors, Kevin, that's Brian. We'll be right back.
Ibanez Tortilleria, serving up freshly made in-house corn and flour tortillas since 1994. Try delicious menudo, tasty barbacoa, fresh tamales, tacos, variadas with juicy grilled chicken, and tender fajitas. On Mondays, buy one barbacoa taco and get one free if you mention that you're a Bloodhound fan. Located at 4726 Paredes Line Road, Brownsville, Texas. Open every day at 6:30 a.m. till 9 p.m. To order, contact 956-541-9594.
Music lovers, you have to stop and see the assortment of records, tapes, and records memorabilia at Forever Memories today. Located at 237 North Sam Houston in San Benito, Texas, there's over 10,000 records on display and more coming every day. Looking for your favorite album from the past, first pressings, collectibles? How about a 45 with a single you just have to have? Freddie Fender, Johnny Cash, Hank Williams, Elvis, Beatles, blues, rock, classics, Tejano, it's all here. Organized and priced for you. Forever Memories, 237 North Sam Houston, San Benito.
The Rio Grande Valley Birding Festival will be held at the Harlingen Convention Center November 9th through the 13th. Registration open for over 100 field trips, seminars, and special events. Entry into the trade shows, Birds of Prey, flight shows, and Children's Nature Nuke are free. Come join us. Visit rgvbf.org for more information. For quality care, contact Mesquite Home Health and Attendant Services today. In Brownsville at 594 Jose Marti Boulevard, call today 956-361-5558.
We here at Mesquite want to wish all local athletes good luck in today's game.
And it went like...
Our service is unmatched. Our commitment to our team and our community, relentless. Our products are innovative and exciting. Fruya, we're what's next now.
We're the St. Joe Bloodhound Cheerleaders, and you're watching Real Sports Live!
What's going on, everyone? Back at Luke Faria Motors, Brownsville, Texas, as always, on a Wednesday afternoon. It's Kevin, that's Brian. He is our special guest today from the Monitor, and we're talking some high school football, and we're all getting set for round 3, and tomorrow is Turkey Day, and it's Turkey Week, really, is what everyone likes to call it when you're playing high school football, and you got Thanksgiving morning practices, you got practices the day before Thanksgiving, minus the drizzle. The weather is beautiful outside. I like cold weather, so.
Absolutely.
We touched up a little bit about on what stood out to us. B-Ram mentioned, about the run that Mac High is on. That stood out to him. I didn't see it coming. I think he probably saw it more than I did. But, the run that Mac High is on, we talked a little bit about San Benito and what stood out in that football game with the Greyhounds, and then sticking with 6A and with the Harlingen Cardinals and what they did. And they went on the road in San Antonio and beat San Antonio Warren, an old nemesis, if you remember, back in 2011, 39-21. The Cardinals are back in the third round, and things have to be feeling good for Coach Manny Gomez. And I know that coaching staff really well. They're good friends of mine, and it's cliche as it sounds. Those guys work hard. They are in the film room. They're studying. Just like like all these coaches are this time of year. But the thing with those guys is that majority of them all went to Harlingen, and they played for the Cardinals, so they understand the expectation. And for a little while, they've had a couple of early round exits. In the first round, we just talked about that matchup against Vela in 2019. They've had a couple of second round exits, and last year against United South, and it's like for most programs, it's like, oh great, you guys won a district title, you went to the by-district round, and you won a playoff game, or you got bounced in the first round. It's a great year, sure. Doesn't exactly work like that in Harlingen.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they expect you to go 3 deep almost every year. If not, you're in the second round. They expect you to be playing in the Turkey Week, right? So I think Harlingen's playing really well. Randy Morales at the quarterback position, that was one question for me coming into this year. And, realistically, Harlingen hadn't found a quarterback since Jaime Galvan. So it's been some time that they have found that true guy. And the kid Morales, he's a junior, so he's still got this year and next year to work with.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, no, he's playing really well. And, looking down at the box score, you're 7 points, 7 points, 7 points in each of the first 3 quarters, and then the Cardinal defense pitches the shutout in the fourth quarter, and they go 17-10, 0-12 points by quarter for Harlingen. I thought that was a really impressive win for them. And then now they're going to play Dripping Springs, which I know you're familiar with because that's who Mission Vets played sometime back.
Dripping years ago.
Dripping Springs used to be in 5A, and now they've moved up to 6A. So, I mean, it's going to be tough for the Cardinals, but, that team, a lot like Mac High, they're playing well when it counts. Isaiah Bell, he's still, that dude, and Aiden Sandoval and Paul Price on the outside, their offensive line was big. And at least I knew that their offensive line was going to be good because, last year was kind of a work in progress. This year they were all back. They have one of the bigger offensive lines that we probably not a lot of people talk about. Because we always talk about how big the Raiders' offensive line is, and Brownsville veterans, they're nasty, and they pride themselves in pancake blocks. But, the Cardinals are right back where they need to be.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have said it any better. It's like, it's kind of like the Cowboys. When the Cowboys are winning.
Yeah. Texas high school football's better when Harlingen's winning.
Yeah. The universe feels kind of, not out of tilt, so to speak. But, the Cardinals have a big matchup this week against Dripping Springs. San Benito has a giant in front of him, and that's Austin Westlake.
Yeah.
We saw Austin Westlake last year against PSJ North, and that just happened to be, people say, well, they ran into a buzzsaw. Yeah, and then some, because that just happened to be one of the better teams Westlake has ever put out, period. So what we're getting at here is that we're in round 3 for 6A, and BRAM, you've been around this game long enough to understand that this is the week where it's like, It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough for the Valley in general, and for some people that are out there and maybe not understand, but, there's a reason why, we struggle in getting out of the third round. And what are some things that maybe, like, off the top of your head, like, yep, that's probably why we won't win that game in the third round?
Yeah, in the Class 6A level, it's just so tough. I mean, you have you're facing programs in round 3 that are littered with Division I signees and recruits all over their roster. So the Valley goes into those matchups already as underdogs, which, I mean, you can't knock it, you know what I mean? Those teams do what they do up there, and we send our best, which this year is Harlingen and San Benito, to give them hell. Last year, it was PSG North going up against Austin Westlake, and from talking to Coach Kaufman after that one, he said, yeah, we got killed, but we didn't back down. And he learned something about his team there last year. And those kids from Harlingen, those kids from San Benito, they're cut from the same cloth, man. They're tough kids. They're going to fight you for every inch on the football field. Doesn't matter if you're bigger, stronger, faster, whatever, man. Coach Gomez from San Benito and Coach Gomez from Harlingen do a hell of a job, and as well as their staffs do, is getting their kids up for those games. But once you get to this level, you got to play near perfect football to beat those teams, and it's tough to do. You need to play your best game in 48 minutes on the road, be it in San Antonio, closer to their turf than you are to back home. So you're a bit out of your element, but the teams have their work cut out for them. It's not easy, but I think one of these teams will eventually get it done here at the Class 6A level, and it'll make it all the more a joyous occasion when that does happen, because if we're sending Harlingen and San Benito up there for round 3, and maybe we can avoid Westlake one here and sneak in with the victory. So hopefully that time comes, but one thing I know about San Benito and Harlingen for sure is they're going to give them hell this week.
Absolutely. It's just the size is what it comes down to. And when you said you need to play near perfect football, is that, I think when Clint Finley was still the coach at Los Fresnos and they went 3 deep, they played at Kingsville against San Antonio Reagan. Mm-hmm. And they started the game, Los Fresnos started the game with an onside kick, and they got it. Mm-hmm. You need things like that.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of magic. You need to play perfect, because if you drop a would-be interception or if you don't recover a fumble that's put on the ground, that's probably going to be it. There's your shot to take advantage. And you really got to go pound for pound with these teams. But at some point, when depending on who you're looking at, I'm like, my goodness, was it 2018 when San Benito played Converse Judson? They had Sincere McCormick at running back. He went to UTSA. I think he signed with the Raiders as an undrafted free agent. Yep. And then they had DeMarvin Leal, who was an All-American at A&M, in the SEC. Now he's playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, at some point, it's just like, good season, guys. We love you. It's a very daunting task when you play against teams that there's just so much more muscle. There's so much more speed and the physicality of these teams. Not saying it's impossible, but, it hardly ever happens. That's why when it does, that's why this week is so special, because we're guaranteed a team in the 4th round. And when we talk about 4th-round teams, most recently we talk about Pioneer. We talk about Mission Veterans. And then before that, you'd have to go all the way back to Port Isabel. And then Harlingen in 2011. So there are very few far and in between. But, yeah, in 6A, when you get to round 3, when you meet the Brandeis, the Lake Travis, the Westlake, Cibolo Steel, when I was in high school at Edinburgh North, we actually, my senior year, we ran into Brandeis in the 3rd round in 2009, the fall of 2009. And then in 2012 and 13, they ran into Cibolo Steel 2 years in a row. It's like, daggum, man, like that's tough.
Yeah, they play good. They play good football up there, and then you add in the athletes that they have up there, and yeah, it's a daunting task. So, fortunately, as you alluded to, we got an All-Valley 3rd round playoff matchup, which guarantees us a team in the regional final at the Class 5A level. So I'm looking forward to that one. We had some big games this year. PSG North versus Vela.
Oh, yeah.
The Battle of the Arroyo every single year. This year with San Benito and Harlingen both being undefeated heading into that one. And now here in round 3, Rio Grande Valley football fans and South Texas football fans in general treated to an all-valley round 3 between PSG North and Brownsville Veterans here in Brownsville.
We're going to talk about that. Brian Chavez, Ale Aparicio, on the other side of the break, and we're going to get into now this is what they're called, the Turducken, right? PSG North, Brownsville Veterans. So get ready. We're going to talk about that matchup coming up on the other side of the break.
Hija, tomorrow's your quinceañera. I need you to call your padrinos and tell them thank you for the salon, the tamales, the dress, el DJ.
Ay, Ama, you called them. I didn't even want a quinceañera in the first place. I would have preferred to have gone to Paris instead.
I will, fine. I'm gonna give you your surprise gift early.
Huh?
Guess what? You're going to Paris.
How?
Well, I've been saving mucho dinero all year in insurance thanks to Pronto Insurance.
Let's just skip the quinceañera and go straight to Paris.
Call your padrinos right now.
Okay.
Ask your agent how you can start saving with Pronto. Best price in town.
Aquí, en la Universidad de Texas A&M Kingsville, somos una familia. Nosotros nos apoyamos. Trabajamos juntos. Crecemos juntos. Triunfamos juntos. Nos inspiramos los unos a los otros para convertirnos en las grandes mentes del futuro. Estamos aquí para asegurarnos que tú triunfes. Aplica hoy para empezar. Es tu momento.
Josh Moody and Coach Rolly Gonzalez of Josh Moody Loans are former Harlingen Cardinals and would like to wish all the teams good luck in tonight's games.
Welcome back, Luke Faria Motors. It's Kevin, that's Brian. We're fixing to get to the main course, and that's this Friday night at 6. We did invite Coach Gilbert Leal, but he had some family in town. He's the athletic director here at BIST. A shout out to him. And for the record, so we're Real Sports Live. We're going to be broadcasting on the NFHS network for the Harlingen game, the San Benito game, the Mackay game, and then, of course, the ultimate one down here at Sam's with Raiders and with PSJ North. So we'll have you covered. Just hop on the NFHS network, and we'll get you guys covered. So when I talked about earlier about this being the more memorable area around that we've had in some time, when you stop back and look at it, do you kind of see? I mean, do you agree there? Because I mean, we've had a lot of good things happen, but I just think this past week, with Fabian's performance, with Brian's performance, the Raider defense, with what they did, and then Mac High, they pulled off that upset.
Yeah. So the only thing that I can think of in my time was a few years ago. It was 2018, the year that Mission Veterans went to the regional final that year with Landry Gilpin at quarterback. At the 6A level, we had Westaco East, Westaco High, and Edinburgh Vela all in round 3. So that's as good as a round 2 that I can remember. But prior to this year, with sending those 4 teams into round 3, Mission Veterans was the only one that won their round 3 matchup to move on. But now here in round 2, I mean, we had the Valley going up against Corpus schools, Valley going up against San Antonio schools, and we had 5 delivered with some big wins this week. And any time you set up an all RGV round 3 playoff matchup, and this goes for any sport, anytime you set up an all RGV matchup in the 3rd, 4th, whatever round it may be in the playoffs, it sets up for exciting times. And fortunately, that's what we got on our hands here coming up Friday night between PSJ North and Brownsville Veterans, and then Mac High gets it done, and as do Harlingen and San Benito. So just a really good showing all around here from the area around as these teams go and represent the Valley and represent their schools.
Brownsville Veterans put up some Madden-like numbers.
Absolutely.
On Friday night, and we were keeping up with the scores, right, as the game was going on, and Mark had the game on. He was covering the game over at Cab, and I was at Buck, and I'm like, is that right? Are they playing basketball over there?
Yeah.
74-59 was the final score. Team rushing yards, 718. Total offense, 748. 10 team rushing touchdowns. 451 yards from Brian Chavez, second best in RGV history. 9 touchdowns, tied for the 5th most in Texas high school history. 9 times. I feel like Ferris Bueller's Day Off 9 times.
Yeah, unbelievable
9.
performance.
I mean, if you're playing fantasy football, right?
Yeah. Get him on your team, and you might be headed to the fantasy football playoffs. Yeah.
I mean, geez, man. I mean, and you see, the crazy thing was that kid was a defensive end, turned running back. And with what Coach Kelly is doing over at Brownsville Veterans is amazing. With how this is a program that traditionally their young history was under David Cantu, and they were always a spread offense. And then now they turned to this triple option, and last year they did you saw the growth, and you saw them learning the verbiage, learning the system, and then this year you just see it take off. For me, I was impressed week 1 when they played San Benito down at Sam's, and I know they lost that football game, but you kind of saw the bright spots and the silver linings, and they did overcome that turnover bug, because in that we're going way back to week 1. That second half they had a couple of turnovers that really hurt them against San Benito. Point being is if they take care of the football, they can beat San Benito.
Yeah.
We're San Benito right now.
Yeah, round 3,
just like Brownsville Veterans. So they match up with PSJ North up front. The tenacity, the meanness, and I thought it wasn't funny, but I was like, okay, come on. With the Raiders' offensive line, how they handled Miller up front, how they would just drive him to the turf, slam him down, and the Miller fans were like, hey. I'm like, it's between the whistles.
Yeah. Things aren't going good when after plays a PSG North guy is peeling a Corpus Christi Miller guy off the turf, and the home crowd, which would happen to be Corpus Christi Miller this past week, is crying about it. And the refs are looking and saying, hey, that was just a pancake block. That was clean as it gets, and there's nothing you can do about it. You as Miller tried to do, you got to dust yourself off and line up again for another play, and we'll see if Brownsville Veterans is up to that challenge.
I believe they can match that intensity because that's what their defense is built on. And I don't know what Coach Kelly has up his sleeve with Bryan, if he's going to play both ways, if he's going to play all running back or he's going to play linebacker. But there's just so many weapons on that offense. With Montoya and Storm and Sampaio as a senior. He's come a long way in directing that offense. But I mean, man, for them to be in the third round for the first time in program history, for Brownsville Veterans, because I know for such a long time when they were a young program, they were in 32 6A. They could never make the playoffs because you had that one year. You had that three-way tie for first. I believe it was Harlingen, San Benito, and Los Fresnos, and then you had Rivera, who snuck in and, by the way, went 3 deep back-to-back years. And then there was Brownsville Veterans on the outside looking in. It's like, daggum, like that team's good.
Yeah.
They had guys like Gus Garza and the Marcus Castillo, that quarterback they had for a 3-year starter. And it's like, man, you take this team and you stick them in any other district, they either win it or they make the playoffs. So Veterans, they were always knocking on the door. And I believe it was Castillo's senior year. They lost in the bi-district round at Westlaco against Westlaco East. Or, to this day, that was one of the more gutsiest calls, if not the gutsiest calls I've seen in the playoffs. David Cantu went for 2. They didn't get it. They went for the win, and their season ended right there. So for this, it's a long time coming for this program to be in the third round, and rightfully so.
Absolutely.
They're playing very good football right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Through that district, man, I mean, when you look at some of the scores that they put up and the way they beat Harlingen South, who they shared the district title with, I mean, you knew this Brownsville Veterans team was going to be impressive. And like you mentioned, that week 1 score to San Benito, 17-3. I know you don't like to talk about moral victories and things like that, but that was a good showing. We know what San Benito is. We know how good they are. They are here in round 3. Brownsville Veterans, man, they put up a hell of a fight there in week 1, and like you said, we kind of saw the promising signs of this Brownsville Veterans team. Now they marched through district. If it wasn't for a heartbreaker, Westco East going for 2 on a 2-point conversion.
It's kind of ironic, right?
Game. Yeah. So that's the only thing that stopped them from winning an outright district championship. Their only loss would have been to San Benito, and but I mean this Brownsville Veterans team is as good as advertised. You've seen some of their scores, and you're like, wait, did basketball season start early? I know they hung 80 on Lopez earlier. I thought they were going to do it last week. They flirted with 80 in the second round of the playoffs. And if you're scoring, I mean, near 80 points in the playoffs, I don't care who you're playing in the second round, because only good teams get there to the second round and are competing at this level. And Brownsville Veterans just showed just how good they are, how good they can be, and why they're reaping the rewards and all the good things that are coming their way with this program in under new leadership with Coach Lee, like you mentioned, running a brand new offense. And I mean, they're rolling on all cylinders right now. Got to be feeling good after dropping 74.
Shout out to my guy JC Ramirez. He's the DC down there at Veterans, and Coach David Duty, Rainer Cardenas, another good friend of mine. Hopefully we'll see. Hopefully, Rainer, if you want to come on by, come by up in the box. We got a spot for you. Just come on by. But those guys, they're a lot of good dudes. Coach Duty, I've known him a long time. Back when he was in Hidalgo. Then JC Ramirez was at Hannah for a long time. But PSJ North on the flip side, everyone's asking, which, by the way, for the record, we're going to do picks, but we're going to save that for last. Everyone's asking, hey, Naro, who's going to win? Raiders, Veterans? And I'm like, well, I think blank is going to win because of this and that and this and that. But, on the flip side for PSJ North, I feel they're clicking at the right time. And I think them beating Miller was just kind of like a dropping the hammer type of deal, because we've seen Miller go up and beat Valley teams before with their speed, and with the guys they have on the outside, like Lonnie Atkins ain't no joke.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy went MIA Friday night.
Well, so one thing that stood out to me on that first play of PSG North and Corpus Christi Miller, the first play, Corpus Christi Miller, or it was their first offensive play. Of course, PSG North started the game kicking off, they come with an onside kick recover. So Corpus Christi Miller's offense has to wait a little bit. But on that first play of the game, they throw a quick out to Lonnie Atkinson. And if you go back and watch that play, there's 6 different white jerseys. PSG North was wearing white that game. Gang tackling Lonnie at Atkinson on that first play of the game, kind of setting the tone like, hey, we know this guy's a stud. This kid is a real playmaker. We don't care. We're all going to come and stop him. And that kind of really set the tone for that defense right away. And this PSG North team they've been impressive from start to finish. They're juniors who were thrown into the fire as freshmen. And now here they are just growing and growing and growing in year 3 with that PSG North program. Still got another year ahead of them. And man, I've seen them multiple times this year, and every time it just seems that there's another kid doing something great, and they all kind of have that same mindset where, I mean, they're just fearless, and you notice that in those winning teams that really make a difference.
You know, you're talking about PSG North. How about Andre Matamoros, the corner that lined up against Lonnie Atkinson? When I saw him line up against him, I was like, well, I didn't think of that. Andre's got speed, and you've seen him just as much as I have. Say that was a pretty, smart move there on the defensive side for PSG North. It's like, yeah, because you're wondering how is Leroy Palacios going to hold up against a guy like Lonnie Atkinson. But and the question we both asked to Kaufman after the game was that, even though you didn't capitalize on the onside kick, I felt that was a tone setter, and Marcus said absolutely that was the point, to show that we're going to be aggressive against these guys and we're going to come in and hit them in the mouth first. And I said that, he didn't. I said they were going to hit him in the mouth first, right? But that game played right into their cards, to where the Raiders, through the first punch, they controlled the clock, and then even Kaufman made a good point that he's like, at first we thought that maybe we need to play keep away a little bit, but then as the game went on, they started to realize, like, hey, we kind of clamped them down offensively, and this was an offense that was averaging 49 apiece, 49, and they got held to 14.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be realistic, that last touchdown didn't come until late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, this PSG North team, man, I've been around a few of these teams that have gone on to the 3rd round and 4th round, and there's one common thing among all those teams, and that I think leads to the success, and it's just a fearlessness, man, that comes from the top, and we don't care who you are, we're going to play the game. It doesn't matter if you're favored, it doesn't matter if you're more athletic, none of that matters. And this PSG North team, like you mentioned, Andre Matamoros isn't the biggest kid, but I mean, he stared down Lonnie Atkinson and gave it his all every single play, and he said, all right, you may beat me, but good luck beating all 11 of us.
Right.
And they really took it to that Corpus Christi Miller team, that PSG North, the black shirts defense, which is what they go by, and what they preach. I mean, they're tough, man, and those kids will come up and hit you. Andre Matamoros, I know he played a lot of receiver this year, and then Nick Gaona goes down due to injury. Andre Matamoros says, hey man, I'll play corner, I don't care. And he still getting some touches on offense, but really playing a key role for them on defense. And then Leroy Palacios, man. I mean, yeah, he's just he's a dog, man.
Steven and Mikey too.
They're linebacking core. I was out there at practice yesterday, and I wrote a story on their defense and really focusing on their defensive line. And they run 3 down linemen, nose, two ends and stuff, and they have those 4 linebackers, as you mentioned, Steven, Mikey. They got Jesse Montes, who's the younger brother of Jason Montes, and then they got Jose Alaniz, who's another outside backer there. And man, it's just a really dangerous combination. They're pretty much all juniors, man.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
They're all going to be back, and that defensive line. I'm a big dude. I'm about 6 foot, and those PSG North dudes, they're all as big and bigger than I am, and so they're tough, man. I really expect that defensive front to be the difference here in this game. Brownsville Veterans is really good, but if PSG North can stay disciplined, and that defensive front can eat up some blocks, and you know what I mean, get in the way of some blockers to let those linebackers run free and fill those holes in the always deceiving triple option offense, which is, you know what I mean, you never know where that ball's going to go. I think this PSG North team can do some really good things here against Brownsville veterans.
Yeah, shout out to my guy Brett Esparza. He's the DC down there at PSG North, and collectively they're just doing everything so well. We've been talking about their defense, and hey, what about their offense?
Yeah.
And you got Ale, and you got the three-headed monsters at the running back position. How good are they offensively?
Yeah. We talked about how good Brian Chavez was last week, 450 yards, 9 touchdowns. Then Ale Aparicio, he goes out on Friday night and 250 yards, 4 touchdowns, and in impressive fashion. And then you find out, that was his Jordan flu game.
Yes.
He was a bit under the weather. Had what Coach Kaufman said might have been some. He ate something wrong that didn't sit well in his stomach. He was up all night, couldn't really keep anything down, and then he comes out and puts up 250 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns to lead his team. And I know that team really rallies around him, and you have him at quarterback, him leading the way. He's a great leader of that offense. And then you get into that backfield. They got 3 different weapons, and Jason Montes, Jaden Fuentes, and Ethan Guerra, who all do their own things and are all special in their own ways. But I think the biggest key to that success of those 4 guys is that offensive line. Well, I talked about the defensive line and how big they are.
Jordan Brewster.
The offensive line is as big or bigger than that defensive line.
Dante Garcia.
Yeah, we got a couple brothers. His brother Danny's on the defensive line. Those are both some dogs, and there's one of them on the defensive line, one of them on the offensive line. So, man, I'm just so impressed with that PSG North team. And anytime you get a Valley team that just comes out and bullies other teams, because that's plain and simple, that's what they did to Corpus Christi Miller. Corpus Christi Miller, they got some athletes, and then they can fly around the field. They got some speed and some skill. But PSG North said, hey, man, we're going to get in your face, and we're going to make this ugly. And they definitely did that. They were throwing some bodies around and clearing the way for Ale Aparicio and that 3-headed rushing attack to really go to work. And 35 points, looking really good. And then just that defense, I feel like I could talk about it all day. I talked to your guy, Coach Esparza, yesterday, and man, he just talked about. One thing I asked him about was just how special is it to have an offensive line and a defensive line like you do, and to have them on the same team, because they have. Coach Esparza was talking about they have some live periods during practice where they'll go 15 minutes ones-on-ones, where it's starting offensive line against starting defensive line, which also means twin brothers Danny and Dante going against each other. So a little cool added element there, because offensive and defensive lines always have a little inner team rivalry. I know it's all brotherly love there in that team, but the offensive line always wants to beat the defensive line, vice versa. And those guys, man, it's like iron sharpens iron. It's strength versus strength there. And the entire team reaps the benefits of having those guys up front to really set the tone offensively and defensively.
Good stuff. That's Bryan Ramos. When we come back, we're going to take a break from the football for just a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving, and then we'll jump into our picks, and then we'll wrap things up here from Luke Faria on the other side of the break.
Take a ride, or ride a wave, build a castle, or visit a castle, morning stroll, or nighttime roll. That's as hard as it gets at South Padre Island. Voted Texas Travel Awards Destination of the Year. Plan your escape at sopadre.com.
Our service is unmatched. Our commitment to our team and our community, relentless. Our products are innovative and exciting. Fruya, we're what's next now.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Castillo. I invite you to visit San Benito and see for yourself the many things this community has to offer. Our offices of economic development offer a variety of business resources to developers, investors, and business owners from small to large scale. Contact us and let us work together on your next business opportunity.
Ibanez Tortilleria, serving up freshly made in-house corn and flour tortillas since 1994. Try our delicious menudo, tasty barbacoa, fresh tamales, tacos, variadas with juicy grilled chicken, and tender fajitas. On Mondays, buy one barbacoa taco and get one free if you mention that you're a Bloodhound fan. Located at 4726 Paredes Line Road, Brownsville, Texas. Open every day at 6:30 a.m. till 9 p.m. To order, contact 956-541-9594.
Baby, just listen to me.
Escucha.
We do everything with speed.
Prontísimo.
Out of home business service.
Flexible.
Insurance for all your
Barato.
needs. You say you just got a new boat. Come on by and we'll give you a free quote.
Prontísimo.
Okay, who's singing near you? Hello?
Accesible.
Pregúntale a tu agente cómo ahorrar con Pronto, porque más barato, nadie.
Here at Texas A&M University, Kingsville, we are a family. We support each other through thick and thin. We work together, grow together, excel together. We inspire each other to become the great minds of the future. We are here to ensure you succeed. Apply today to get started. This is your time.
Welcome back from Luke Faria Motors in Brownsville, Texas. That's Kevin. That's Brian. You're dropping some. You're bringing some major league heat this afternoon, man.
Oh, thank you.
Good stuff.
I appreciate it.
Good stuff, man.
Astros still got me fired up. As you talk about Major League, and I'm still riding the high off that Astros World Series.
Oh, absolutely. You kidding? I'm still rocking my hat.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
so. Oh yeah, I'm gonna keep riding that all the way to opening day.
Oh, heck yeah,
Rightfully so.
Yep.
Speaking of which, what we're thankful for, Thanksgiving is tomorrow, so we're going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving and what's on the Bryan Ramos menu for Thanksgiving.
The usual is on the menu, but the favorite and my go-to is the stuffing. I mean, I feel like, I mean, you can find turkey a lot of places, throughout the year and everything, but it feels that stuffing, it only comes around once a year. It's the right time to, you know what I mean? And the stuffing with the cranberry and turkey mixed in there, and kind of just the whole just mishmash, everything just combined on the plate. It's you can't beat it. But yeah, the stuffing is really my go-to, and Thanksgiving is just a really good time, man. Especially being Cowboy fans.
Yep.
I'm wearing my Cowboys hat today, and it's just a fun time, and Thanksgiving's always better when the Cowboys are doing good. And fortunately, they're on the right track, coming off a big win, headed into tomorrow against the Giants. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Thanksgiving, and my go-to is that stuffing. I'll have first, seconds, thirds, and I may even take some to the games with me in my pockets on Friday. So security, don't pat me down. But I'm really looking forward to Thanksgiving and everything that comes with it. And what are some of your favorites?
Well, I'm gonna skip. I'm a pecan pie guy.
Oh.
Give me some pecan pie. Yeah, I was gonna ask you, where's the pecan pie in all this? I really do like the ham. The ham with the gravy. You dip that in there a little bit. I really like the ham. The fried when you fry the turkey.
Oh yeah.
And that I think I like that better. And I'm kind of a flats wings guy or a turkey leg. But yeah, the go-to for me, it's got to be the pecan pie. And then the ham. I think the ham for me, you dip that gravy, like I said, and the mashed potatoes in there just a little bit.
that pecan. As soon as I walk in the kitchen, I got my eyes on the lookout for that pecan pie. That's definitely my go-to as far as Thanksgiving desserts, and you can't really beat it, man. It's just so rich and everything. So that puts like a nice little exclamation, nice little bow tie on Thanksgiving dinner.
Absolutely. You have the food, you have your family, and then you have the Cowboys at 3:30. I mean, there's 3 games, but only one of them really matters, right? The 3:30 game. So we're definitely excited about that. And on the topic of being thankful, this is our job to sit here and talk sports and go out and write about it. And you and I are both gonna have that privilege Friday night to go watch that football game. I think it's gonna be great for the Valley. I'm encouraging everybody to go out there and watch that football game. Sam Stadium, it's a big place. I've never seen it packed ever. I'm not sure if you have.
No.
But come out and watch the football game. Come out and support it, because this has never happened before where we have 2 RGV teams in the 3rd round playing for a spot in the 4th round. So RGV, come out to Sam Stadium Friday at 6. Watch a great football game. Get some stuffings in your pockets if you want. Bring some leftover pie. We'll be up there in the press box. Brian will be out there on the sidelines. Throw him a turkey leg or something. But I think it's shaping up to be a great week for high school football. And whatever happens Friday night, whether Raiders win, whether Veterans wins, I think at the end of the day, the Valley's going to win. And, football in the Valley's going to win because we're going to get one more week of football. And next week we can talk about next week, but just that this week I think there's something truly special brewing with PSJ North and Brownsville Veterans. Kind of all roads leading. And then at Sam Stadium, there's a lot of history at Sam Stadium. So what a better place to play it at here in Brownsville.
Yeah, we don't get too many Valley versus Valley football matchups in round 3. Of course, we normally, usually every year, get some in round 1 because of the way the UIL alignment is arranged and everything. But in round 3, 2 Valley teams going at it head-to-head in Brownsville. I talked. One of the things that Coach Esparza said when I talked to him yesterday, he's like, "Yeah, the game's in Brownsville, but we're at home. We're here in the Rio Grande Valley. It doesn't matter if it's in Brownsville. We're here in front of the Valley football fans." And like you mentioned, Kevin, everybody in between. If you have no rooting interest in this game, you're not rooting for PSG North or Brownsville Veterans, but you're a football fan. Get out there because it's gonna be a real treat between these 2 teams. One of these teams will be in round 4, and I wouldn't be surprised in the least bit to see one of these teams in the 5th round,
right?
Which would be a pretty amazing feat. But we'll get there when we get there. And
right.
Like you said,
yeah.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, Kevin. Friday night. I mean, the environment is going to be just another level. The tension, knowing that what's on the line for the Brownsville Veterans fans. You can almost. I know we're a couple of days away, but I can already almost sense it. When you get to those big games, you can feel it, what's on the line, the atmosphere. There's just something in the air that knowing that, hey, man, this is Texas high school football playoffs. When you get to this time, it's the most special time of the year. The weather changes, and now with the Valley on Valley, it's all eyes are going to be on this game. Even Harlingen and San Benito and Mac High, who will be playing their own round 3 games. As soon as their games are over, there's going to be like, what's going on over there in Brownsville? Let's keep up with that one. So
I agree.
Everybody should be rooting for a good game with this one. No matter the outcome, the Valley is a real winner here.
I agree, and both of us are from here, and it's just something that you can appreciate here in the 956. So with that being said, our final segment, we're going to go ahead and pick these football games. So we're going to start in the Class 6A Division 1 regional semis. San Benito, Austin Westlake.
I'll go first. Anytime Westlake is on the other end of the schedule, you got to go Westlake. I mean, they're just a powerhouse year in, year out. And you see, if you get to see this Westlake team, I would recommend doing that as well because you're going to go watch this Westlake team, and then the next year you're going to hear those same names scattered across the Division 1 level. Kate Klubnik getting some real play time with Clemson this year. He was just beating PSG North in the 3rd round of the playoffs last year. So Austin Westlake, they're just a powerhouse. And I know San Benito, they got a hell of a team. And they're not going to back down. I don't expect them to in the least bit. But Austin Westlake is just on another level.
Austin Westlake, I agree. Clean sweep there. In 6A D2, Dripping Springs against Harlingen. By the way, the San Benito Austin Westlake game is at 2 Friday at Alamo Stadium in San Antonio. Dripping Springs and Harlingen is at 11 a.m. at the Alamo Dome. I'll go first. Dripping Springs.
Yeah, got to go Dripping Springs. Their only loss this year was to Westlake, so I feel Dripping Springs is going to pull this one out over Harlingen.
Class 5A D1, Corpus Christi Veterans against Mac High. I'll go first. CC Veterans. I think the clock just strikes midnight on Mac High, but either way you slice it, pretty darn good run from the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Bulldogs had to win 4 straight games to get here. Or they had to win the last two of the regular season just to get in the playoffs. And like you said, I feel a bit of this Mac High magic might come to an end, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they came out and beat them. I was out in Mac High practice. They're confident as can be after winning those 2 rivalry games and then beating 2 district champions in South and San Antonio Southside. And I talked to junior defensive end Hudson Hood, and he said, "Hey, why not beat 3 district champions?" So, but I'm going with Corpus Christi Veterans. They're just a sound team. We saw them against Edinburgh Vela last week. They're not going to give you anything. So Mac High's going to have to go and take it. But I think Corpus Christi Veterans has the edge.
And the biggest one on the schedule, PSJ North at Brownsville Veterans. By the way, forgive me, the Veterans Mac High game is at 2 down in McAllen on Friday. PSJ North, Brownsville Veterans, just a few blocks down here at Sam's, 6 o'clock Friday nights. You want to go first?
Sure. I'm rolling with the PSJ North Raiders. They've been one of the best teams from start to finish. That defense they've only given up more than 14 points once this year. That was to Edinburgh Vela, Edinburgh Vela is one of the best programs in all of South Texas. So they hold Corpus Christi Miller to 14 last week. I know Miller and Brownsville Veterans are a different offense, but Brownsville Veterans but this PSG North defense is ultimately what I think will be the difference, because they're just one of the toughest units at every single level of that defense. So PSG North is my pick.
I think the Raiders get it done Friday night, too. I think there's just too much defensively for PSJ North. And not that Veterans isn't rolling, they are. But, right now PSJ North, they're just on another level with how they're playing. And I just feel that this is, a team of destiny, because remember 2 years ago against Taft in the area round, they had to forfeit their game because of COVID. And then last year they flexed their muscles and go into the 3rd round against Austin Westlake, and then they make their dip down to 5A, and it's like, okay, now that begins the serious run for this program, not just this year, next year, but I think PSJ North is just on a special run with what they have going right now. But either way, go to the football game, Raiders, Chargers. It's going to be one of those games that we're going to be talking about for a very long time, because to me it's everything being from the RGV, and it's everything for those programs. And for the Valley. So I strongly encourage you to go out there and watch that football game Friday at 6. So we just made our picks, and we're going to get ready for some turkey tomorrow, some Cowboys football. I wanted to make it out to veterans practice this morning, today, but they practiced this morning, so I missed out on it. Like I said, I got back at 3 this morning from Fort Worth. I'm going to recharge the battery and get ready for Friday.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and make it out to PSJ North's practice tomorrow to see what they're up to. I think they go in the morning, on Thanksgiving morning. So, B-Ramp, thanks for joining us, man. Any shout-outs you want to give?
No, just shout out to you guys, Real Sports Live, always doing good stuff. I'm always tuned in, whatever the sport may be, and always during football season, of course. So thank you for having me on, and visit rgvsports.com to catch some of our round 3 playoff previews. We got previews on, all our teams, Harlingen, San Benito, Brownsville Veterans, Mac High, and PSJ North coming into you this week. So thank you again for the opportunity, Kevin. And, you can catch all that at rgvsports.com for, all our latest in the written word as far as this round 3 goes. And I'm fired up for it, man.
Yeah, I'm fired up, too. And as a former newspaper guy, pick up your local newspaper. It's still very important, especially the sports part. The newspaper still means a lot to these kids, where they cut out the newspaper clippings, put them up in the field house. So get your local newspaper, the Star, the Herald, and the Monitor. Check out their stuff on RGV Sports. B-Ram will be out there Friday. I'll be out there Friday. So we're excited. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks for listening and watching, as always. Signing off from Luke Faria Motors. It's Kevin. That's Brian. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.